What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Martin Scorsese film, Silence. Silence is directed by Martin Scorsese, stars Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver, and Liam Neeson, and tells the story of two Jesuit priests in the early 1600s who are sent to feudal Japan to find a priest that help raise them because they have lost contact with him. The church does not know where he is. There are rumors floating about what has happened to him, and they go there to find him. This movie is what I think could be described as a period piece, being as it takes place back in the early 1600s. And I think because of that, the historical setting helps improve the intrigue of the film. This tells a story about a time period that I know little to nothing about, and it was very interesting to see how the Japanese treated Christians at that time in their country. This movie is harsh. It shows real realities that are not fun to watch sometimes. This is history that is forgotten for the most part. Most people don't know anything about how the Japanese treated Christians, the persecution that they faced when they were trying to spread their faith in Japan. And because of that, the movie really uses that to help build up suspense and make it interesting and make you want to watch and get attached. However, the big problem with that is this movie is extremely slow paced. I have to compliment Scorsese. This movie is beautifully directed. I mean, it is gorgeous. The cinematography is amazing. And to go along with those two things that help build them even more, the sets in this film, I don't know if they actually went to Japan, but based on the way it looks, I would think they did. And the costume design are amazing. I genuinely don't know how this film did not get Oscar nominations for production design and costume design, because it's phenomenal throughout the entire film. And the story of this film is engrossing. It is fully fleshed out. They do not leave out any of the gory details in telling you the story. The story is led by three performances, you would think, but in reality, it's just one. And Andrew Garfield does a really solid job with this film. Adam Driver is good, Liam Neeson is good. A problem, though, is they kind of waste Adam Driver. He is very much in the sidecar behind Andrew Garfield for this whole movie, basically. He doesn't really get any moment. Like, there's no Adam Driver moment in this film, which is really upsetting because he's an extremely talented actor. Liam Neeson does get a few moments that are pretty good. Andrew Garfield, though, is by and large the lead of this entire film. He's the guy you look to for where it's going, what's happening, and what he's going to do to get out of the situations they get themselves into. He's really solid. However, I understand why he got the nomination for Best Actor for Hacksaw Ridge rather than this. His accent in this film is weak. He goes in and out of it at times. Some sentences it's thick, some sentences it's barely there, and it almost sounds like he's English, like he is in real life. And I think that this movie required him to have more range than Hacksaw Ridge did. But in Hacksaw Ridge, I think his performance was more succinct and it was more solid, which is why that's the one that he's getting award buzz for. As I said earlier, this movie is not perfect. It has problems, and to me, the main problems are with the script and the editing choices. The movie really is longer than it needs to be. This movie is almost 3 hours long. With trailers, this movie is 3 hours when you go see it. And there is a lot. Now, I should not say a lot. There are definitely scenes that could be trimmed. There are sections of the film that are longer than they need to be. They get their point across halfway through what we've seen. We've seen 20 minutes of something and they decide to show 40 rather than just showing the 20 that made us understand what we were supposed to get out of it. And I think that the editing process should have noticed that and trimmed down more of it. I understand this is supposed to be like an epic, but it's overly long, and the biggest issue with that is this movie falls into ruts. You start off and you get going and it starts to climb a little bit, and then there's like a hole, and you just get stuck in that hole for like an hour. And then you get out of the hole and you're like, alright, yeah, story's moving forward, we got this, and then like 20 minutes later, you're in another hole for another like hour. And then you get out of that hole, and then it's like, oh yeah, boom, another hole, and then you get exposition and epilogue for like the last 30 minutes of the movie. It felt like Return of the King, but with Return of the King, it didn't bother me because there's so many characters and I want to know what happens to all of them. This movie is like 3 dudes. there's not that much to say, and it really stretches it out, and I really think the editing is the issue. It should have been cut down more. The pacing is extremely slow, and I 100% believe after watching this movie in theaters, it has little to no rewatchability. I saw this movie once, and I do not think I will ever watch this film again. I'm gonna give Silence a B. This is far from a bad film, but the lack of rewatchability and the extremely slow pace mixed with a really stuck story that never feels like it's going forward, and then when it does, it moves a little bit and then you immediately get stuck again. It is a interesting historical piece. There are solid performances in it. It's beautifully directed. The whole movie looks amazing. I just really think that the lack of progression in the story is what really kills it. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this review, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of Silence, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and I hope to see you guys later.